Okay, so the only time I've ever spoken in less than 10 minutes was when I was in the DA's office, and the judge told me that if I didn't stop in 9 minutes, the court officer would remove me. So no court officers, but we do have a timekeeper, so I'm going to talk really, really fast. I am the mother of a 25-year-old young man with autism with severe and challenging behaviors. There's many, his name is Andrew. If you can help me, I'll show you his bedroom. I seem to... He, in addition to being the mother of a child with autism, I run a law practice in New Jersey that has children and adults in about 11 states now for the families that we represent, so have seen a lot of programs over the years. Andrew lives in Gloucester County in Bancroft's Lakeside program. And it is a home and it is a community, despite some people's view that if people with disabilities that live together, it no longer is a home or a community. It is, in fact. Can you just show me where to advance, just this little arrow? This is the kitchen in one of the 12 group homes. This is outside, where a group of community artists actually painted some chairs and donated them and various animals. That is his room. It's a 4-person group home. That's his living room and the sight from the kitchen and the dining room. So they asked me to talk about 4 things here. One is to tell a little bit about Andrew. The second is his program. The third was why I chose it. And the 4, whether or not I had a goal of a more inclusive community setting. So to tell you about Andrew, I'm going to tell you about many, many Andrews, because there are many, many Andrews out there, more than we are talking about as a community. Children, adults with challenging behaviors that make staying at home safely impossible, that the option of living in a community-based group home will not work. Living in a foster home will not work. The campus model has clinical reasons for it. It's in this debate about it, a number of people talk about the rights issue, and I think that's a very important issue. We need an array of services. We need a number of choices. I live in a 55 and older community. My younger son just went to college. That's what we chose, that's what we want. The movement is that my son with autism can't choose the community because it's a campus. Now, he can't tell us because he doesn't speak. Andrew is nonverbal, but he speaks with his behaviors. And when he's successful, he tells me, this is where I need to be, Mom. And that's what many, many Andrews do. So to give you a little background on Andrew, he was fortunate to be in a low-bus replication site very early on, was very, very successful, gained lots of skills. He began to talk. He was even included for a period in preschool. He went on to be a student at Alpine Learning Group, which is a very renowned school in New Jersey, headed by Bridget Taylor. And there he learned great skills, tie his shoes, use the microwave, lots of pre-vocational skills. He was doing things working in a hospital. He was watering plants at a Y. And then at 19, he had a regression, which is another thing that we're not talking about. Many, many people with autism suffer regression. Many people with developmental disabilities, those teen years are a horrible trigger for an absolute assault on their brain that is biological and neurological. We don't see the stories. We need to tell these stories more. We need to tell them more because we need the services to stay in place that support this population. And we need to tell these stories because we need to support the families who make the decision to choose this, to feel and enjoy success. Not success that's defined by, do they have paid employment? Are they included in the community? Are they still at homes with their families? Your state director, I don't know what it's called in Pennsylvania, or in ours it's DDD, in viewing some successes, it appeared to suggest that if people stay home, that's a success. And that, going to something else or a campus community would be a failure. And it's often measured by how much it costs. Sometimes what it costs is what someone needs. So to say, well, we can do 20 people in a home support situation for the price of 1, in my view, is the equivalent of saying we can give out 1,000 Band-Aids or 1 surgery When you need the surgery, the number of Band-Aids don't count. So Andrew's campus is a home and a community for 48 young adults. Young, I'd say, probably the oldest about 40. They live and work on the same location. Ooh, right? Another problem there, okay? They live and work on the same location because, first of all, economy of scale, which Melmark has learned through the years. I've had many, many clients have lived full and wonderful lives there. They also live on a campus because some of them can't get in the car because on a bad day they kick the windshields out. They also live on the campus because they have such intense anxiety that they can't safely walk across campus, and the goal is to get them to the vocational program. The campus setting is not only our right, the campus setting is not only what most of us want, because when they ask families, what do you want, that's what we're all dreaming and a vision of. My husband and I worked with Tom Toronto in his early stages of developing and working with families. That's what people were asking for. Remember when you stepped on the college campus with your neurotypical child? It's a similar feeling. The campus setting also is a clinically superior model for a vast number of individuals affected with developmental disabilities. Why is that? Well, when you live on a campus, when one house is having a bad day and the other isn't, you can easily shift some staff. When you have a crisis, the panic button brings the team in, which when you're living in an apartment, the 5 bodies you sometimes need with someone that's hurting themselves are not available. The campus model allows for the behavioralist office to be right there and walk around, usually before and after, and sometimes well beyond her day ends. The campus model allows for us collectively to do things as a family. Andrew loves Elvis. For his birthday, we had an Elvis impersonator. 48 people enjoyed Elvis that day. And it's some of our favorite video. Back to a little bit more about Andrew. At 19, this regression was horrific. He lost his language. He no longer wanted to eat. He went some days as much as 6 or 7 days without eating. He lost 100 pounds in 3 months. He often didn't sleep for 3 or 4 days. And he began to self-injury, which he had never done before, hitting the sides of his ears, sometimes as often as 100 times a day. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it no matter how much the state pushed in, no matter how much we got. And I had a good lawyer, so I got a lot. Okay? It didn't work because you can't create some of these settings in a home, no matter how much the families try and love their loved ones. We need options, and we need to stop making families feel like failures when that's the option that they need in order to keep their families safe. Now, people talk a lot about all these quality indicators, right? So what's the quality indicator now under CMS, and in some states, including Pennsylvania, even more far-fetched? Quality indicator. Can the person choose their roommate? Do they have a key to their room? Can they go into the refrigerator at any time? All wonderful goals. Do they work in paid employment? Probably minimum wage, but still paid. Some people, access to the refrigerator is eating until they die. A key to the house means elopement and hit by something in the street. Choosing the roommate's not an option because they can't have a roommate. When my son doesn't sleep for 2 days, he almost can't have a housemate. So I think that the direction we're going, that who's getting to define what a community is, who's getting to define what success is, they're on the wrong path. In terms of long-term goals, one of the questions was, would I choose for him to live in a more inclusive setting? Well, we dreamed about it. I mentioned United Way. My husband and I actually helped draw the floor plans for one of the United Way projects up in Bergen County, just 2 miles from our house. Unfortunately, the crisis came, and that was not going to work for him. So we had to readjust. Adjust the plans, adjust the goals, adjust the dreams, not adjust the drive, though, to get him what he needed. And my goal is that he is successful, safe, and happy. And if it takes this setting, where on some days he can't go in the community, it's not safe for him. He has detached his retina from the self-injury. He's undergone 3 surgeries to get him through that critical post-surgery period where not only could he not hit his head, he could not touch his eyes, though the stitches felt like a foreign body. We would not have saved his sight. His sight is his voice now that he uses the iPad to communicate. We would not have saved his sight without that data-based, behaviorally driven, superior supported environment with lots of staff, high staff ratios, on-site nursing, and a wonderful, beautiful community where they all have dinner together on some nights. Though they may be attached to another house, I don't think that it's not a community. The other thing that I'd like to comment on is that this panel is about going with provider agencies, as opposed to, I guess, some grassroots thing, or in New Jersey we have this thing called self-directed services, which to me is just the parent figures it all out services. I think that there is a terrible hostility towards providers. That there is this notion that providers are in it for the wrong reasons, and you'll all be better off if you just had your array of services and got to pick among them, and you lived in your apartment and went to this provider for that. My son's provider is Bancroft. Bancroft is our family. Bancroft's been around for 130 years. Again, I heard your director say, oh, in a day they could be gone. Well, you know what, you're around 130 years, I got a little bit better a shot, okay? And that the providers are, the parents that want the providers, the Melmarks, the Woods, these are some of your examples here, they have not brainwashed us. We are not ignorant, vulnerable parents that pick something because that's what the provider said we needed. Those evil providers that are making a fortune, by the way, you're all making a fortune with your executive salaries. I chose it because it works. Do I hope someday he won't need that? Do I have evidence that he may not? Yes. Thankfully, he has made a wonderful transformation. Not just on the model, meds help too. He's sleeping. He's working in the community on the days that he does sleep in a hydroponic greenhouse. He has a Meals on Wheels route. He delivers the mail up north in the Haddonfield campus. He also does things on campus, though, on days that it is challenging. There's a greenhouse there. If we didn't have that, he would probably sit in a group home. Andrew lived in a group home. His group home experience was more isolating than his campus experience. The only interaction we had with the neighbors was when they complained that the music therapist was too loud. It's a fiction. So I'm here for the Andrews and the moms and dads and brothers and sisters of the Andrews to say we not only want choice, we need choice. Thank you.